Britons want Sir Keir Starmer to focus on Brexit reset rather than cozying up to Donald Trump. I'm going to read into this exclusive from the iPaper, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here, an exclusive from the iPaper with the headline that Britons want Starmer to focus on the Brexit reset rather than cozying up to Trump. Starmer has faced repeated warnings that he has to choose between the US and the EU. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit that like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So this is an opinion poll of what Britons are saying. This is not every single Briton. Do take it with a pinch of salt, because obviously it's only those individuals who have chosen to sign up to this poll or give their opinions on this poll. So I really want to put that context in there before we go any further. I think the vast majority of the British public wants us to have a better relationship with the European Union, better relationship with Europe than the deal that was signed by Boris Johnson, because we are all worse off as a result of it. We know we talked about numerous times about the damage that Brexit has done to all of our lives. It has made immigration worse. It's made us have less funding. It's led to a cost of living crisis. It's caused so much harm to businesses as well. And yes, it would be so much better if we could just rejoin the European Union and single market and be a part tomorrow and just kind of like forget this all happened. Can we go back in the past, please? Because we're all much worse off as a direct result. But some people still think, yeah, that Brexit is a good idea and can't point to any benefits that has made our lives better. I have no problem personally at the time of this recording the US-UK trade deal. I know some people are. I think it's actually, in my eyes so far, I've seen it as a good deal based on what I've read, what I've seen, and what others have made of it as well. So, and it's not like a big deal. It's nothing massive, to be fair, either. And now that kind of thing is kind of out the way, because that's kind of how I see this. I see that now that the UK-US trade deal has kind of been announced, but it hasn't been signed, and there's still lots of details. So I think it's a good publicity for Keir Starmer. It's good publicity for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump loves publicity, as you guys know. So it's in a way, it's kind of like they can kind of not worry too much about the US now, and they can kind of focus a bit more on the EU. And we know they have special envoy appointed in the government that works directly with Europe to obviously improve the relationships there. And Keir Starmer has been consistently been in contact and visiting and whatnot in Europe many times since he became Prime Minister as well. Really actively trying to build us closer to our European neighbours and allies, so much better than what the Conservatives have been doing in the last 14 years. This idea, again, we're not at we haven't come to this point where Keir Starmer must choose between Europe and America. Like, I don't see that. I've not seen that at all. And this idea is just, at the moment, I just see it as dead in the water, because, yes, Keir Starmer they've agreed on a deal in principle with the United States. And yes, Donald Trump can turn around the very next day and change his mind. Yes, he can. But it's still good publicity nonetheless for both sides. But that doesn't mean that he still can't have a relationship with the EU. And yes, it depends on the context of the deal that they have with the US about whether our standards would be lower as a result. As far as I'm aware, the standards will not be lower, according to the UK-US trade deal, and what the Trade Secretary had said in the Commons as well about it, saying that our standards would not be lowered as a result of that. But I do agree that we need to have better relationships with the EU. I wouldn't call it a Brexit reset, because we can't. Because the TCA, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement that we had that was signed by Boris Johnson, it's only a review in 2026. It's not a proper reset of it. It's literally a review of it, guys. So this is a bit misleading, if I'm absolutely honest. This had that bit there. So voters want Sir Keir Starmer to do more to develop closer trade relationships with the EU than with Donald Trump's United States, a new poll has suggested. So more than half, 58% of voters want closer trade with the EU, compared to just 1 in 5, 20% who prefer deepening ties with the US, the BMG Research poll for the iPaper has suggested. The poll was carried out before the Prime Minister and President Donald Trump announced the UK-US economic deal, which I expected. which has helped Britain see off the worst of American tariffs in the moves that Starmer said would protect thousands of jobs. But negotiations are set to continue on further with tariff reductions, and Starmer has faced repeated warnings that he may ultimately have to choose whether to take to task closer to the US or the EU. I don't buy that again, but that's people's opinions on it. So here it is. EU or the US, around 3 in 5 said they would prefer for the UK to develop closer relationships with the EU rather than the US, whereas 1 in 5, 20% would prefer closer relationships with the US. So yeah, the vast majority, according to their polling, 58% said with the EU. Only 20% say the US. 21% they don't know, according to the polling. Concessions to the America in area like tech, agriculture and carbon taxes could make it more difficult for the UK to strike deal with Brussels, as well as voters across the Leave Britain divide favouring closer EU trade over the US trade. More than half, 51%, believe Starmer should be doing more to get closer to Brussels. Prime Minister is targeting the signing of a security and defensive deal at the landmark EU-UK summit on May the 19th, and is hoping to set the stage for further agreements on agri-food trade and easier movement for business people, while Brussels pushing for deals on under 30 migration and fishing rights. Many more voters favour going further by rejoining the EU customs union. 46% support, 22% oppose, or single market 44% support, 23% opposed to ease the trade. However, new voters' views about EU relations are strongly dictated by how they are voted in the 2016 EU referendum. For those who voted Remain, 71% want the UK government to do more to build a stronger relationship with the EU, 73% supporting the UK rejoin the EU's customs union, and 72% support the UK rejoin the EU single market. While Leave voters were more positive about building strong relations with the EU, they are much more negative about rejoining the EU customs union and single market. An illustration of why Starmer has maintained food standards is a red line in his trade talks with Trump. The poll shows strong opposition to watering down regulations to get a deal with the US. 58% would oppose, 23% would accept. So yeah, interesting here on food standards. On 1/4, 23% would accept the government allowing access of US agricultural goods, even if they do not meet UK standards, if it meant securing a trade deal with the US. So 23% honestly would rather have chlorinated chicken and hormone-treated beef, which is insane. The vast majority of this poll, 58%, said they would not accept this. Catherine Bridge, a pollster at BMG, said, nearly half of the public believe that the government should be doing more to strengthen ties with the EU. While this view is strong among 2016 Remain voters, a notable share of Leave voters also supported improved relations. When it comes to formal arrangements, as rejoining the EU customs union or single market, support outweighs opposition by 1 or 2. However, Leave voters remain significantly more resilient to these specific measures, even if they are support the general principle of improving EU relations. Perhaps reflecting wider global uncertainty in the wake of President Trump's inauguration, both Leave and Remain voters are more likely to favour closer trading ties with the EU than with the US, a bit to different degrees. On the prospects of a trade deal with the US, the public expressed clear resistance to lowering food standards as part of a trade agreement, with US agriculture as a particular concern. While this poll took place prior to the announcement of the UK-US agreement, the strength of the opinion is indicated of why the government must move quickly to reassure voters that protections will remain in place. I just want to put this context in here. BMG Research interviewed a representative sample of 1,525 GB adults online between the 6th and the 8th of May 2025. Fieldwork was conducted before details of the UK-US trade agreement was announced. BMG Research is a member of the British Polling Council and abides by its rules, just for the reference and context of that poll. But like I said, yeah, only 1,525 adults participated in that poll. So again, it does not mean that everyone is in that poll by that reference, but it gives an insight of what some British members of the British public are thinking with regards to that. And I do think sometimes it is good to have a look at them to give us an indication of how people are feeling there. And it is an interesting one, to say the least. I do think, that the vast majority, like I said at the start, I think the vast majority want us to have better relationships with Europe anyway. And while we can't rejoin the single market and customs union because they are red lines that the Labour government currently has, there are ways we can mitigate the problems that we currently have, because we need to make things easier for our businesses. If we want to get the economy going, if we want to growth, as the Chancellor keeps banging on about, we need to break down these barriers at least. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you guys make of this polling by BMG? What do you guys make that that Britons want us to focus more on Europe rather than America? Does that make sense? Do you still think, yeah, that Starmer has to choose between the US and Europe? I still don't think he has to, but maybe some of you will disagree. Let me know your thoughts and more on this down in the comments section below. Now, if you found this video informative or helpful in any way, hit that like button, share us across social media, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Do check out Rumble and Patreon as well for exclusive content. And if you want to financially support me in the work that I do here, you can hit that join button down below to become a YouTube member as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.